Yes.
Keep that in mind.
All right, so let's go ahead and call the meeting of the Fargo Public Library Board of Directors to order. And let's begin just by taking roll and seeing who's here. Nobody on the phone today, right, Tim?
Correct.
Okay, good. So just going through our membership, Scott Bollier here, Carlos Holly. Here. Kristen Schipper.
Here.
Amy Oren.
Here.
Rachel Steenholt.
Here.
Oh, hi.
Hi. I'm back in person. Good.
You're in my blind spot.
Yeah.
Jenna Reno.
Here.
Carrie Peterson.
Here.
Okay, and everyone is here this month. So if we could move to approval of the order of the agenda first. Move to approve.
I will second.
All of those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, we'll move along to minutes of the March 15th meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, hearing none, that motion carries. Looks like the public is not here today, so we've cruised through the public comment portion, and we're on to staff report.
Hello. So you have my report in your packet, but I'll just highlight a few things. With staffing updates, Andy Gustafson has been promoted to a branch LA2. She's been with the library for a while in a part-time role, and she now is full-time with a little bit of management expertise. They're reviewing librarian applications for Jenna Lee's position at the branches since she moved to head of tech services last month. We also have a new LA1 position that is starting May 2nd. That's Isabel Toddy. That was an open position in the tech services, so cataloging department. So starting at the beginning of next month. We have a new kind of service, kind of program. Starting at the beginning of May, we're going to start having tech help sessions every Wednesday afternoon at the main library downtown. We end up doing a lot of one-on-one tech help with people that come in to use the computers or want help using our ebook apps or Hoopla or various databases. And so this is a set-aside time where we can spend a little bit more time on them, where it's not you're manning the information desk and also helping people on the computers. So it's set up to be a drop-in time, but people can also make appointments for a half hour at a time. So we'll see how that goes, starting that beginning of May. Last month I highlighted a bunch of events with the Red River Valley Kids Read event series. The last event of those is coming up this Thursday. It's an author visit. So the author's name is Elizabeth Rome. She wrote the book Storm Warning, which takes place in Ada, but it's about the 1997 Red River flood. So she'll be here that Thursday night. Children's kind of takes a break in May, so there aren't a lot of children's events because they're getting ready for summer reading program to start in June. For teens, we do have a Mother's Day craft coming up, so people can come in and make something for their moms before Mother's Day happens in May. On the adult side, we have a houseplant swap coming up April 25th. People can come either with a full house plant, a cutting, some seeds that they've started, and just kind of trade with other people. And we are growing some things at the library, so if people come without anything, they still get to take something away. But it's a way to get new plants. We also have a birding event coming up at the end of April. Hopefully the weather will be nice. So Megan Carter with the Audubon Society is coming to do kind of a program about birds that are common in our area. And that's at the main library. So they will then walk down to the river over here and see if they can find any birds. We also have a community engagement event coming up this weekend that isn't in your packet. That is World Book Night at the Broadway Square. It's World Book Night, but it's actually 2 to 4 in the afternoon this coming Saturday, and we're supposed to have weather, so we'll see how that goes. But we'll take the book bike over there and promote some of our upcoming events, and it's kind of adult literacy focused, so we'll focus on our book recommendations through the May We Suggest forum, and also some of our easy reader for adult books. We have books that are geared towards adults, but written at the easier reading ability for people that are either just learning how to read or English as a second language.
Thank you. So my kids tell me there was an event. I'm trying to find it. There was a book club event related to the river.
So there were
recently.
a bunch this past month.
And they said it was great. Do more of that was their one request. So that's now really an official request since it's
Right.
coming from you too.
The board president.
Any other questions or any comments? Thank you. Tim, so I don't know if this is a staff report question or a director's report question, but
Sure.
any response at all to our letter?
That's been submitted in terms of the budget. That's been submitted with the budget. Obviously, every department head has an opportunity to meet with the city budget team in that regard. When that day and time becomes available, I'll let you know, Scott.
Okay.
And you can be part of those conversations when I meet with the budget team. That was submitted with my budget requests along with a letter from the Friends Board as well.
Okay.
So, more to come in terms of the timing for those conversations.
Okay, thank you. And if we can transition to your report, Tim.
Yes, absolutely. In terms of a COVID update for this month, obviously no additional measures currently from city admin or city departments, though we do have one staff person currently impacted. So that's, in terms of my director's report, you have it in your packet there. The big thing that you see there under professional, goal 1 and organizational reclassifications, we have a total of 9 positions that are looking for reclassification. What that is looking at how those positions are measured and what they do. And based on kind of the growth of those positions, we got a lot of great people working for us and kind of reevaluating job descriptions and how those are measured and tasks and responsibilities and impacts on the organization is working through that process, submitting those to the Human Resource Department. Obviously, this then becomes part of the budget discussion as well for 2023, but a lot of activity. And, you know, that, what I think is a really healthy aspect of our organization is the kind of growth that we see that is just coming from people working and taking responsibilities and growing their positions. The tough thing is there's no guarantee, you know, that obviously we go through the effort and we make the evaluations and we have discussions. I've met with all the folks in this regard, but certainly it's coming from other departments as well across the city asking for reclassifications, and it all has a budgetary impact. And oftentimes you don't get everything that you want. And that's just the simple fact of the economy of public agencies. And certainly I've made that clear with folks as we've been working through this process, but there'll be meetings up ahead in regards to this. So that's a big thing that we really concentrated on this past month.
Any questions? You got a vacation too. Good.
Yeah, I went to Milwaukee in March or in April, and it was a sunny, almost 70 degrees.
There you go. Yeah.
So,
All right. So moving along for new business, you've got a budget that is an action item, Tim.
right, and what you have in front of you is what I submitted, other documentation to the city budget team. And again, per the cover letter, the city requested that we submit our budget as of April 1st. That's the earliest they've ever asked us to submit budgets. A significant amount of turnover in the city finance department with the head of finance retiring near the end of last month, and various turnover within that. So that kind of pushed that back. So I didn't have it available for board action at the March meeting, but the big impacts that you see is what we've already talked about, is the 4 FTE mid-year for 2022, and you see that represented here, and that's the big thing in terms of budget for the library. The big number that I didn't have was the main library shade replacement number. The folks that I was working with were working with different folks that didn't give them numbers, and I wanted to have an accurate number to bring that. And so you see that number there, and that's for the capital budget for 2023. In terms of operating, again, on the second page, Division 7010, that represents the main library. The most of the increases that you see there are based on just kind of increased costs that we're trying to keep in line with. The big one there under 6170 is books and periodicals, and that really came out of, obviously, after action report with COVID, looking at the growth in the use of e-content and trying to invest and get caught up there. So that increase there is really focused on that. That's something that we identified. In terms of natural gas and electricity, those numbers were posited out of the finance department based on what's going on in terms of utilities across the country. And some of the other, in terms of 7012, again, that's Carlson, moderate increases, again, keeping up with, in line with cost increases on various things, water and sewer, general supplies, and again, natural gas being per finance department. And the last one, 7016 being Northport, and you can see kind of just the maintenance of costs there. Also with natural gas per finance. Library fines and fees, again, those are, fines have been eliminated, but we have lost items, replacement, utilization of meeting rooms, what have you. Library state aid, they told me based on what they're looking at, it's just get an average of over the last couple of years. They have that represent there in terms of that estimate. It's a range just based on a 12-month look back. And again, per the attachments that I don't include them here, but obviously they were provided when submitted to the city budget team.
Questions at all?
I have a question. Did we replace the shades? Why does that sound familiar? Was that part of last year's budget and did that not go through, or are these different shades
It's
that are?
been, I think it's been on the list for capital improvement. Individual shades we had to replace, but not the whole thing. Again, what we're looking at here is a full replacement because the system itself, it used to have a computerized system that would control going up and down. That ceased being serviceable like 6 years ago. Currently, we kept on fixing as we could based on the availability. We got a really good firm in terms of repair that we didn't have initially. But where we are now is the motors aren't available, the hardware's not available, and we currently have a number of shades that don't function at all because the motors are burnt out or what have you. And we have there's no supportive technology or hardware out there to replace. The system's that old. It's hard to believe. It went in 08, 09. I don't think it was that new to begin with. And now it's no longer supported. So that's the driver in terms of kind of looking at an overall replacement. We've done obviously piecemeal through the years where we had to, based on damage and wear and what have you, with available hardware. We no longer have that option. So it's one of those things, instead of waiting for, okay, we got one shade that works in the whole building, it's more like saying, okay, and if they say no, at least it gets it on the radar that we could come back again. So we've had replacement of individual shades, but this is based on where that system is or isn't, of just saying, okay, this is no longer supported. We have a number that are no longer serviceable. Let's get it on the radar and get it replaced.
Other questions? Tim, where do your requests for staff come from? Do they guide you to ask for, it's okay to ask, or do you is this a wish list? Like I don't.
But you,
I could ask for like 10 positions over at
well,
NDSU. but
I've always,
zero.
well, they don't so much got, the four that you see here, the four FTE that you see here, that was identified through analysis, working with staff admin team, HR, working through their system to identify that based on hours that weren't covered. So I feel really good about how this was identified. You know, it's always been incremental and always trying to find kind of the deepest need and bring that. Certainly, again, my goal for the four FTE that you see here is to overcome that deficit in hours to be covered and again, be open on Sundays in the fall, as we were. So I think as we go forward, I think having a more analytical approach would be helpful. Because the process that we went through with HR, obviously it identified kind of the bare bones for FTE that we need, but additional positions were also identified that be kind of on the radar for the future. So I could see us going to that on a continual, you know, on a biennial basis or whatever to identify those positions. But as you see here, this was identified through some serious analysis with HR and admin team.
Thank you. So this is an action item, and you need a motion from us to, what is it, approve the budget?
Correct.
Okay,
But the 2023 budget
okay.
request.
Move to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the library budget as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, hearing none, that motion carries, and we are on to, let's see, facilities master planning update.
Yeah, the RFP went out. We received back 3 proposals. Initially, the budget level that they were requesting was rather significantly over what we had budgeted. Luckily enough, went back and kind of modified the scope of that, and in contact with each of the 3 firms, they were all willing to look at what they're going to provide, you know, their proposals and come back. And I received one back, and it's well within the neighborhood of where it should be. The one thing that we had in there and was kind of a rather in-depth kind of committee public engagement aspect. And the more I thought about that, it's a very important aspect of when you're looking at buildings and this and that. But I think that's something that happens once we're looking at, we have money available and we have the city online and our partners online, everybody, where they say, yes, you can go ahead and build. And then we can engage and have that discussion. So in my thought process, the rest of it in terms of the analysis of the current 3 locations, working with steering committee, staff, potential partners, and kind of discuss scope and program of a possible additional building, I think that's the timely discussion. I think the public engagement part is important, but I think it has a more salient part when it's going to a live situation, because you'd hate to engage them and 6 years go by or whatever, and then they're kind of like, that might change. It's better when it's more timely. So when I went back to the 3 firms and said, well, we're looking at modifying and kind of holding off on the community engagement, they were all willing to go back. So again, we got the one back well within the budget and neighborhood that we wanted to be. So good news there.
Great. Thanks for the update. So back to you for the statistical reports, usage and
Right.
financials.
You look at March usage, you can see the approximate registered patrons. You see attendance, folks are coming in more than 22, so that's good to see. Programming, moving kind of a steady or paced effect in terms of on-site versus virtual. And you can see the impact on numbers where we had more virtual back in 2021 versus 22. Obviously, volunteer hours is well on compared to not having any volunteers, which is great to have them. To get everything back on the shelves and all that they do in terms of outreach services. Internet signups, you can see impact there. Webpage hits down just a little bit over last year. Circulation, obviously impacts there. In terms of March, just a little bit over March of 21. Year-to-date, though, up a little over 13% over last year, so excited about that. So that's what's going on in terms of activity and circulation.
And do you want to cover financials too?
Sure. With 25% of the year lapse, we're looking at a little over 27% of the budget expended. Again, that's an impact of encumbrances on different lines based on the beginning of the year, like maintenance contracts and rent. So all in all, I think we're doing just fine in terms of overall budget in that regard. Looking at, I may have moved my papers around. In terms of donation summary, an unrestricted donation of $25 we received from the Women's Club in memory of a member. We also received $150 from a Michelle Nyseth from Wisconsin for the Go and Grow and Spice Club programs that were held in previous years. And on the expenditure side, you see $316 for Crafternoon. So thank you, friends, for the Crafternoon support. We have a Crafternooner right here in our midst. And revenue, you see it there. Just under 3,000 for the month of March, and so a total of a little over 5,000 revenue year to date.
Great. Any questions for Tim on usage or financials? Anything from the Friends, Tim?
Not as of right now. They're still working on their book sale coming up this summer, so they're happy about that.
Cool. Still no public. I was going to give the public a second chance, but no public. So I think we are in good shape. Anything else? Well, we can hope that May 17th has flowers and green grass. I said it in February that maybe spring, and it's not here yet. So next month. We are adjourned if there's nothing else.